Story time of when I almost cut off my own toe. I could have legit been toeless right now. I was in the 7th grade and I was making breakfast for myself. So I was making myself a little bit of chilaquiles, whatever, right? And as I'm cooking the chilaquiles, I didn't have a can opener. So I kind of had to like stab the can. Obviously, I don't recommend doing that because it's dangerous. I opened the can, but as I'm going back to like peel the foil part, I didn't do it with the knife. I did it with my hands. I cut myself on the can. And that's not even the worst part. I rinse off my cut, I clean it, whatever, big deal. I put a paper towel on it, and then I put like a liga around it so that it will like stay and I wouldn't get blood on my food. I'm cutting the tortillas for chilaquiles, and if you don't know what chilaquiles is, it's basically tortillas and like cheese and then like sauce over it. I'm cutting my tortillas, right? And I'm cutting them into triangle shapes. Dude, I kid you not, I don't know what impulsive thoughts kind of went over my head because I'm cutting them like this, and then all of a sudden the knife literally just out of my hand. Like, it was my own body. Like, my body's thoughts kind of went. I didn't even have time to process it, and all I did was literally just like look down and like jump. And I kid you not, the knife like went like this, it flipped and it landed like this right next to my big toe. In my head, I was like, God was really testing me right there, because I could have lost my big toe. If it would have just landed straight down on my big toe, I would have been toeless.
Do you have a bestie that's a little bit toxic? Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story. When I was 20, I moved to LA. I was so broke, I had 4 jobs at the same time. I worked at a hookah lounge where I cleaned the toilets and served. I also worked at a Mexican restaurant, I walked dogs, and I was a personal assistant. The Mexican restaurant I worked at was on Sunset Boulevard. And boy oh boy, did I meet a lot of celebrities. On one occasion, I met a girl who was in a couple of movies. Is she in movies now? No, she's not. So I would say she's like an F-list celebrity. She was the type of girl that got everyone's attention, wanted to be the life of the party. And as soon as I walked up to her table, this girl wanted to adopt me. She kept saying things like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cute." Right away, she was acting like my best friend. It was as if the it girl, the popular girl at high school, wanted to befriend me. I fell for it hard and fast. She had a lot of money, and because I was so broke, she would pick me up and take me places with her. She took me to a couple of industry parties. This is where her envy was showing. She introduced me to a couple of people. And by a couple of people, I mean huge celebrities. But you know how she introduced me? You guys, meet my little friend. Her name's Esther, and she's a struggling actress. She works at a Mexican restaurant. I wanted to crawl in a hole and never come out. Part 2 is up. You know that toxic bestie that we've all had? Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story. After she embarrassed me on purpose by introducing me as her little friend who works at a Mexican restaurant, I wanted to crawl in a hole and die. I was standing in front of a bunch of celebrities while this F-list celeb made me feel so small. But she was also the kind of girl that would recover really quickly. She would start complimenting me on how beautiful I was. So I would feel better about her having just embarrassed me. I would somehow just justify it in my mind. She was also the type of girl that would start telling me all of her secrets. And this is when I made a big mistake. I started trusting her with my own secrets. This is what those toxic besties want. They want you to trust them so quickly and for you to fall right into their trap. Well, I did. I talked to her about my relationship with the fiance that I had at the time, and before I knew it, she started copying my style. My first language is Spanish, and sometimes I answer in Spanish. If you ask me, "Do you want a bottle of water?" sometimes I'll say sí or no. So she started saying sí or no. And I laughed when this happened. I quickly realized that I was influencing her more than she was influencing me. On one occasion, she invited me out with her friends. Suddenly, I became the topic of conversation. And they started bringing up all the issues I had with my fiance. I realized that everything I had told her, she repeated back to them. I felt like an animal in a zoo. They stared at me, asked me questions, and waited for me to answer. They lived for the drama. My drama, to be exact. After that, I realized she wasn't a friend. She was a frenemy, a gossiping, drama-addicted frenemy, waiting for me to fail so that she can feed off of me. You know you have or have had that bestie. And if you still do, I think you know what you need to do. Self-care sister out.
This is the craziest story on how I learned to never compare your life to other people's. So I knew this girl, we were not friends, but we had mutual friends. One day, me and my good friend decided to stop by this girl's house. I cannot remember why. I think my friend had to pick something up. So we pull up to this girl's house, and she lives in a townhome, and it's like really nice, right outside the city, 3 levels, hardwood floors, like, you know the vibes. At first, I'm thinking this is her parents' house because the townhome is so big, and she's like, "No, I live by myself." And mind you, we're like 22, 23. And I always remembered she had on like all this really nice jewelry. Like she had on these nice studs and like a necklace and like all these nice tennis bracelets. And I vividly remember it was nighttime. And even though it was nighttime, her jewelry was like sparkling, even though it was night. So it definitely looked real. So this girl just seemed like she was living the life. And I didn't know what she did for a living, but I'll get to that in a second. So after we left, I just started thinking about where I was at in my life. And I wasn't where I wanted to be. I think I had just just moved back in with my mom. I don't even think I had a car at the time. Like, I was carless, and I think I wasn't in school at the time. So I was just down bad, okay? So after that time, I don't think I ever hung out with her again. And this is where the story takes like a dramatic left turn. One day, somebody sends me a news article, and it ends up being a story about the same girl whose house I went to. And she's been arrested for being a part of a crime ring that was robbing jewelry stores all throughout the Southeast. And they stole like $9 million worth of jewelry. And I just go back to that moment where I was at her house and I was thinking that I was behind in life. And the whole time, this girl was a whole Catwoman, like truly a jewel thief. Literally, the jewelry I saw her wearing that night that I thought was so nice, she robbed somebody at gunpoint for it. Like, I'm over here thinking this girl is so lucky. Meantime, she's a whole criminal, like a legit criminal, like zip tying people up, like pointing guns at them, like crazy. This is why I always tell young people, do not compare your life to somebody else's. You have no idea what is going on behind closed doors. And it's not to say that everyone who's living it up is doing it by sketchy means, but you just never know what's going on in somebody's personal life, and you don't know what people have done to get to where they are. And while you're over there thinking your life is trash compared to somebody else's, you also never know when your life will turn around, because my life definitely ended up turning around. And craziest part is I actually almost ended up moving into that same neighborhood where that girl's townhouse was. And if you're wondering how she got caught, this girl, when she was going into the jewelry stores, was going in without a mask on. So the FBI, I guess, posted her picture somewhere and people recognized her and somebody reported her. And now she's in prison for like 10 years.
I've met Hailey Bieber, and let me just say, you're not going to believe the story. A couple years ago, I was at Nobu, Malibu with my family, and my mom only knows a couple celebrities, so when she sees one she knows, it catches her eye. Lo and behold, Justin Bieber walks into the restaurant. So I whip around at the table and I see him myself. I confirm that it's the Justin Bieber, literally walking within 20 feet of my existence. So he gets seated a couple tables down from us, and he's facing us, and Hailey is facing him. And at first we couldn't even see that it was Hailey because there was security blocking all of them. So me and my sister work up the courage and we start walking up to them. And we immediately, get Justin's attention. And we're hey, we're really big fans. We just wanted to come say hi. It's so amazing to see you in person. You're so talented. And he immediately gets up and, gives us both a hug. And he's so sweet. And, he talks to us for a couple minutes. And he asks if we want to take a selfie. And we were oh my God, sure. You want to take a picture with us? Cool. And yeah, but the entire interaction, Hailey, didn't move a muscle. I turn around to get one last look of Justin Bieber in the flesh, and I noticed that Hailey's, not sitting with him anymore, but I didn't really think much of it. I figured she just went to the bathroom. So we get outside, and we're, searching for our car. And literally, Hailey Bieber comes zooming out of nowhere, 50 miles per hour, blasting Kill 'Em With Kindness by Selena Gomez, and fucking hit and runs my entire family.